everybody. Welcome to Coffee Conversations with Shock City School of Music. My name is Jen, and I am the owner of Shock City, and I'm also one of the teachers. So welcome episode 1. This is our first time doing this, and we are so excited. We've got a special guest today, Doug Byrkit. He is a guitar player and a musician and educator. So we're very excited to welcome him to our show, hear about all the cool things he's got going on currently during quarantine and beyond. So let's bring on Doug. Hi.
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. I got my coffee. I'm ready for conversation.
I've got my coffee too. I guess that's step 1. We're doing okay.
We're doing good. We got that down. So cheers.
We're winning. Cheers. Good to see you.
Yes, good to see you as well. Even though it's
are
on this weird computer thingy, it's good. I mean, as much to be expected, you know.
Right.
This strange new world we're living in right now.
Oh, definitely. So you've actually been like self-quarantined longer than St. Louis has been.
Yeah.
So what happened? Did you catch it or?
No, I didn't. I'm good. And don't you find yourself like anytime, even if I'm alone, if I cough, I go, I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm okay. Okay, I'm good. It's not just I choked on a little good. It's fine.
Sure.
But no, I was on tour in Europe, and our last show we actually played was March 13th. And then we were supposed to play March 14th in Berlin. And we got to Berlin and even set up for the show. And I think an hour before we were supposed to start playing, because they ended up in Germany bringing it down from whatever, like 500 to then you could do like 100. And then it was when we got to Berlin, it was going to be 50 and below. Gatherings were still allowed, but the venue that we were at, they basically what they did is they moved it out of the venue and into their restaurant, so that they were like, I can't remember if they were going to refund tickets or if they just stopped selling them or something like that, and so that it could be 50 and below. And we were like, all right, well, this is weird.
You were in Germany at the time?
Yeah, I was in Germany.
Okay.
And we were getting ready to play. I mean, we were all set up. You know, it was in the last couple of shows that we did. It was, okay, put your gloves on. No shaking bare hands, no hugging. Just
so you
elbow.
Play guitar wearing gloves?
No, just like for like the meet and greets. If you were,
I see.
Yeah, no, not on stage. No, we were fine on stage. Okay. We were pretty sure that the 4 of us didn't have it.
Right.
But, it was like, if we're in the clubs or with people that are there, just to make sure, and handshake with gloves or don't handshake, elbow bump, all that, stay away from everybody. And we were prepared to do that again Saturday, and then they canceled it like right at the last minute, and it was just whole country shut down. And luckily, my boss had a few days earlier kind of seen the writing on the wall, and was like, we're just going to get some tickets for Sunday, because we had after Sunday maybe like 3 days off or something like that because of some other shows that had already been canceled. And we were just going to wait and see, and if things didn't work out, we'd had the tickets to get back home. But if not, he'll try and get a refund or whatever, and we'll keep going. But it was like that Saturday, it just like Saturday morning driving, and trying to remember where we were earlier, but we had done the gig Friday night at this place called the Blues Garage, which was amazing and a whole other story. But we were driving, it was maybe like an hour or 2 hours to Berlin, and got up Saturday. And we were driving to Berlin, and they're like, well, let's see, I guess, we'll do this show tonight, and then we'll regroup and kind of figure out if we're going to do this, what's going to happen with these plane tickets, and are we going to go back? And the guy at the Blues Garage had offered us to stay there for like the few days that we had canceled shows just to have off. Okay. Like, you can stay here for free. I love you guys. And so we were went from Saturday morning trying to figure out what we're going to do. Maybe we'll do this, maybe we'll do that, to Sunday morning making a mad dash to the airport, hoping
Wow.
that our tickets were still going to be good and we'd be able to actually get out of the country before everything closed. I mean, it went from like, well, maybe we can still do England, maybe we can still do, like all that, to like, oh no, we're running, like running home.
Yeah,
Basically.
well, I think right around that same time was when the borders closed. And so I remember reaching out to you and basically saying, it was nice knowing you. I guess you're still over there.
Yeah, I remember that. It was like,
But
no,
luckily,
we're trying to get home.
Luckily, then you got home and then you had to self-quarantine, like complete isolation. And that was what, a week before our shelter-in-place orders?
Yeah, that was a week before the stay-at-home stuff came down. So we got back, and that was like right when they were just trying to figure out, like, if you remember, like all the airports, like being insane and stuff. Of course, that was right, but luckily we flew into to Newark and not Chicago or anywhere like JFK or anything like that. Newark was actually not too bad, although it was still kind of weird of getting off a plane and like being in a zombie movie where they're barking orders at you and file in line and taking your temperature before you can get from square one to the next square. You get your temperature taken, do this, then you can go here, then you can go here. And like by the time I got in Newark and then actually got on the flight to St. Louis, it was like it was just like I'd gone through a year of life. I can only imagine what it was like with the airports that were really crowded, because Newark was like mildly. We did the whole process from getting off the plane to getting on my next plane as 45 minutes maybe.
Okay.
It wasn't that long, but I know other people had hours of being
right, because everyone was going all at once.
Oh yeah, it was like clear, anybody that had any sense knew what was coming, and everybody in Europe got on a flight to, come back home because everything was closing. It was weird. And I mean, it was weird too, being in Berlin, on Saturday when we drove in, and it's like, oh, it's a city, it's like driving around Chicago or New York, it's a big city, bustling, if you will. And then, Sunday morning when we're leaving, there's nobody. I mean, it's out of a movie. There's nobody on the streets, nothing, and it's like, aren't we in a city with like millions of people? Where'd everybody go? So, and then the airport was just kind of surreal too, being there and with a lot of Americans, a lot of like exchange students trying to get home, that were, their school had been canceled and they had nowhere to stay. And if they were going to be sleeping on the street if they didn't get this flight home. So anyway, it was very interesting. And then, yes, I was stuck inside. CDC gave you a little thing, that said, and oh, here's a fun story, because I'm just, but you know me, that's how I go. But that's what I'm here for. When we were on the plane, so when we got on the plane, from Berlin to Newark, you had all your CDC and customs stuff to like fill out. And we got it when we got on the plane, and they were saying, fill this out. There's extra paperwork. This is gonna, we wanted, make sure that we don't get, there's all this new procedures. Let's get this all filled out, everybody, before we land. And that was, the whole thing. And right when we land, they come back like, yeah, sorry, we have to get to the gate. There's new paperwork. You're going to be on the plane for a while. So we were on the plane maybe an extra half an hour filling out new paperwork because they had changed it while we were in flight. That's how fast things were changing.
Yeah, well, I mean, everything's been moving so fast. So it's just, you're fortunate to be back here and not quarantined.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't want to be quarantined.
Somewhere bizarre in Europe. So
yeah, well, Berlin wouldn't have been too bad, except it's really expensive. So I would have ran out of money fast. I really didn't want to be like in a Motel 6 in Newark because I've stayed in cheap motels in Newark before, and I didn't want to do that again with a pandemic happening. Yeah, so that was not. So yeah, no, we were all everybody was texting the whole trip home. And when everybody got to their houses, or wherever they were going to be. A lot of, like Matt, the drummer, was in his basement, because he couldn't be around he wasn't supposed to be around the family. So he's quarantined in the basement. The keyboard player, luckily was able to have his own house. His wife just went and stayed, with relatives and gave him the house. And then Zito he's got a studio in the back of his house. So he's got the main house and then like a little, what they call in Texas, a mother-in-law house.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that they turned into his studio. So he just spent 2 weeks in the studio, so everybody had somewhere to go where they could be completely isolated from anyone else, and then, it was 2 weeks of, don't go outside, don't talk to anybody, don't do nothing. Just getting food drops on my porch from my daughter, fortunately enough, was able to, drop groceries. And actually, like, in flight, I was able to, beg, hey, can you put food in my refrigerator for me?
Oh my gosh.
so that when I get home, I have some food, and don't stay there because you don't want to be there when I get there.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, it was quite an adventure, to say the least.
That the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, so I'd fall all the way to China, a homeless girl living on the streets. Help me, my bottle's getting empty, feeling like I'm losing the game of life. I need some help with my self-regulation. Aberration, it's not working out. Not working out. Not working out. Not working out.
Yeah, well, I'm glad everything worked out. So once you guys all got back, you kind of embarked on a really cool project right away.
Yeah.
Songwriting. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Mike Zito, the guy I was on tour with, who's also the label president of my band's, record label. So it's not like it's some strange person I was.
And who is your band? We haven't.
Oh, Odds Lane is my actual band that I sing in. With Mike, I'm playing bass and singing some backup. So anyway, but we got back, and Mike's one of those guys that it's always going. Like his brain never stops thinking of, new ideas. And some of them are good and some of them are, like just throwing things at the wall, seeing what sticks.
Mm-hmm.
But even before we left Berlin, he was already, I think we should record an album. I'm like, what? And it's like, yeah, because we're not going to be able to tour, and we had all this stuff canceled. Maybe we can do like a GoFundMe, and we'll just do an album while we got 14 days of doing nothing. I'm going to be in a studio. You guys all have access to recording, gear. Let's just make an album. We'll do it in 14 days, start to finish, whole process. Writing, recording, mixing, mastering, boom.
Now you're a songwriter, so you've wrote songs or whole albums before. Is that 14 days seems like a quick turnaround, is it not?
It's extraordinarily fast from concept to
with your band members.
Yeah, and especially because the way that we had to do it is it's a little different. Now Mike, is a solo artist anyway, so mostly it's just his material anyway. Okay. But even as such, it's even if you're just coming in off and I've done sessions before where it's like I've never met anybody, the artist that you're working for, but still as you're playing in the studio and you're playing off other musicians, things change. And you're like, drummer, that was really cool. Wait a minute, that gives me a different idea for a bass part. That gives me a different idea for a guitar part. That gives me this, that, you know what I mean? So the songs from concept to once you get done in the studio, even if it's not like a band effort of writing the songs together, they still change. I mean, it's a whole process, and usually, for the better. So this idea of Mike just kind of writing and then sending us tracks, and then we send him tracks back and forth, over the internet. And then also on top of that, trying to do everything in 14 days.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, we had nothing else to do. But it was pretty ambitious. So we were all kind of like, well, okay. I mean, yeah, I guess so. But we did it. And it ended up, he wanted to do, I think, like 12 songs, and we ended up with 10 songs. So, I mean, we're a couple of songs. But it doesn't matter. It's still a full album that we did start to finish in 14 days. And the whole idea was, the album is called Quarantine Blues. And the whole idea was like all the songs are kind of like, about, one, being stuck at home, or two, just kind of our crazy, trip back from Europe and, kind of stuff like that. So, and he's a really good songwriter. So it was just kind of amazing that the 10 songs we got out of it, I'm going to assume was probably the 10 or 12 or 13 songs that he wrote. There might have been a couple that he didn't send us, but usually, how it is, you write 30 or 40 and maybe you get 10.
Yeah.
Maybe. You get 5 good ones and then 10 and 5 fillers.
This is like a condensed process. So you made use of what you had. So I haven't actually heard the Quarantine Blues album. Is that available somewhere?
Yes, it is. SoundCloud.com/Quarantine Blues.
Nice.
Or just search Mike Zito, Quarantine Blues. You'll find it. But what he did was we set the GoFundMe up. And the whole idea was to try and recoup what we lost from the tour, because the tour I think we were there for a week and a half, and we were supposed to be there for 6 weeks.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a big chunk of money that not just I lost as being a sideman, but he lost, the record label lost, the club, everybody lost.
Everyone lost. Yep.
And, like our tour manager who drove the bus, or drove the van, he lost money because he was expecting to sell merch and get a cut of the merch and all that kind of stuff. So, but we raised insanely over $20,000 in like 13 days or something like that. And then he ended up opening up, kind of, we all took the money that, we came close. We didn't make exactly what we would have made had we stayed in Europe, but enough to like be like, okay, well, I'm good for a month or two. Like that's what I expected to make over the next close to what I expected to make over the 6 weeks anyway. But he started to let it go and continue to raise money, to give money to the tour manager. He got some money, and then it's still going right now, and he's doing where he's helping like $1,000 at a time a lot of different artists that he knows that are out of work, and and just he's trying to extend it as much as he can with as much as we made. So yeah, it was pretty amazing project, and it continues.
Awesome. Love it. That's a great story. So you'd said you were supposed to be there for 6 weeks. So I know you had kind of like canceled your entire life.
Right. As we all did.
So before that, let's see, you were teaching guitar privately, through another entity.
Yeah.
You were teaching at 2 different colleges locally.
Yep. Yes.
Music department. And you were not touring, but doing gigs here in town.
Yeah,
and
here in town.
Kind of like quit your whole life.
Yeah. And we were doing like Odds Lane we'd go and do a week somewhere or a weekend touring.
Yeah, so you were traveling too. So with all of that just gone, like what are your plans? Are you plus the whole St. Louis city is shut down. There's no classes going on right now as far as, on college campuses and things like that. But are you planning to get back into that? Or are you guys planning to resume your European tour eventually? Like what's next?
So, I mean, right now, as things are uncertain as, things when and how things will open up, and as they're experimenting around, Franklin County and other places, I guess we'll find out in about 2 weeks or so how that's going.
Right.
But depending upon how that goes and then how things continue to progress, Zito wants to get, back on the road because that's his thing. I mean, he toured all the time. So he's anxious to get back to that, but that probably won't be till, at the earliest June. I mean, that's like best case scenario. We're touring, Texas, maybe Florida, stuff like that.
Well, right. Then they would have to have, certain things lifted as far as size of crowds and things like that.
Right. Exactly. And we'd have to scale back the band, and I mean, it couldn't do the big band probably with, like 7 people on stage and, doing, 500 seat places. It would be, clubs doing 50, to 100, I would imagine. If we could do 50 to 100, it would be worthwhile to get back out. But until then, it's probably not. So in the meantime, what I've been trying to do is, that since I'm back in town, getting together with my old, partner, not old partner, but my partner from Odds Lane, who I haven't been playing that much with over the, past few months of being on the road with Zito. And we've been doing like what a lot of people have been doing, is setting up things, in rooms and, having, online concerts and, trying to distance from each other. My living room's, it's a little tight in this room. I don't, this is kind of just me and maybe the kids come down here, but that's about it. But in the living room, it's spread apart enough that we can kind of, spread apart from each other and, try to be careful. I'm pretty sure he's been okay. I don't know. He's actually sick. We ended up having to cancel our concert. Well, canceled the duo from the online concert we did last week. I did it as a solo, but hopefully it's just, a cold or something and he's fine. We'll see.
Yeah, we hope.
Well, we've been yeah, me too. But we've been doing, stuff like that. I've been doing another podcast with another partner of mine from Tenacious Eats. It's like kind of like a music / cooking show, kind of thing. It's like all of a sudden we're all professional, YouTubers.
Yeah, totally.
It's like the only way to, kind of eke out, some tips and, doing okay with it, but I mean, it's nothing like, the money that you make from teaching or make from, touring, obviously. Definitely up for, at least while I'm around, doing more online teaching, but that hasn't, other than one person. I don't have anybody signing up, but I've been.
It's a tough world. We, we've got several students. We're doing online learning as well.
Mm-hmm.
But everyone is an individual and has different learning, not only preferences, but needs. And so, for some, it's been working out great. And we continue to, hope to give an outlet for a lot of people to have lessons. It's just so weird. It just all kind of happened overnight.
Right.
So it's just been a hard transition. So yeah, so you think you'll be doing more teaching too? What about as far as getting back with universities?
That I don't know. Probably not. I mean, everything's ending right now anyway. So
right.
by the time that would start would be in the fall anyway, and who knows what that would do. But one good thing that might happen with me is all this online stuff. I would love to just do online so that I could still tour and do online teaching. So, maybe this is a good practice for me to springboard into, doing more online stuff. Plus the recording, doing more recording, with people. If anybody needs a bass part or guitar part, email me. I'll work that out. I can do it right here.
You're the guy. Yeah, you've got a lot. You've got a pretty sweet setup there. A lot of equipment I see.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and I had to arrange it so it looks nice on camera now too. So it just can't be flopped over all over the place now.
Well, you got to take good care of your equipment too.
Well, yeah, definitely.
And just have it in piles collecting dust.
Yeah. Well, I mean, except some of the older stuff that's just never going to get used again. I got an old 4-track that I'm pretty sure I'm never going to plug it in ever again.
That's in the graveyard.
Yeah, but it's kind of like I don't want to get rid of it either because I got a bunch of old 4-track tapes that maybe one day I do want to listen to.
It's kind of cool and it's kind of nostalgic and.
Yeah. But I agree. You got to take care of your gear.
Yes.
It's important. So, anyway.
Awesome. So, what else? Let's see. I think
Covered a lot of it.
Yeah. What else is cool about you? Like, what else are you doing right now other than, so your recording project's over. So like, other than doing some live shows here and there, what are you doing currently?
Well, actually, there's some more recording projects that are going to be coming up through Mike, some different artists on his record label, Gulf Coast Records, if I promote that right. So I'm going to be playing on a few things with that, just kind of doing online, bass parts mostly. But I would love to do that with more people too, because that was really fun and a good distraction from all of this to collaborate and work with people, over the internet, and trading parts. Not quite like being in the studio together, but it's something I would be more interested in doing more of, and actually the one student that I am. Say that again.
Remote recording,
yes. The one student that I am working with right now is actually like a songwriter recording student. Nice. So she'll send me, like kind of like little vocal ideas, and she's pretty good at piano, not so great at guitar, and but she'll send me enough of an idea that I can go, oh, well, here, let me try this, sing to this. And then, we kind of go back and forth with parts. So that would be something that that is something I enjoy doing and would like to do more of, in the meantime, before getting back out on the road for sure.
Awesome. Can I ask you, with kind words, to play us a song?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. And this is my first cup of coffee of the day. Just so you know. So, I
would be satisfied with like Mary Had a Little Lamb.
I'll try and do something. What do you want to hear? I got a guitar right here. What do you want to hear? Do you want to hear a little Beatles? Or do you want to hear something that I wrote?
We can have some Beatles on a Sunday morning. That would be.
Well, I have an Elvis coffee cup.
Ooh.
So King, is it all right if I? Okay, he's good. He's good with it. He said he likes the Beatles.
I'll just sit back here and relax.
All right. I'll do. It's important, kids, to warm up.
It's important. Step one.
Yes. Check one. Check one. Is this on? Okay. Come out to play. Dear Prudence, it's a brand new day. The sun is up, the sky is blue, it's beautiful. So are you, dear Prudence? Won't you come out to play? Dear Prudence, open up your eyes. Dear Prudence, see the sunny sky. Everything, dear Prudence. Won't you open up your eyes?
That was beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. I know you like that one.
That was a great selection. You know, I love that one.
I'm almost out of coffee.
Me too. What should we do about that?
I think we may have to end this conversation so I can go get more coffee.
More coffee.
Go check on the children.
Yeah. Get back to those beautiful children.
Yes. I made them a mountain of waffles. Let's see
so they're fine for another 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I don't hear anyone screaming yet.
Yeah, nobody's shouting. I'm sure that just woke probably the older one up.
Oh. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock.
That's fine.
Teenage time.
Yeah, it's 11. Yeah.
Cool. Well, great seeing you virtually.
Yes, you too.
We'll have to do this in person sometime.
Yes, I would love it.
Soon. Again.
6 feet away. No, hopefully we'll get to a point where we can all be at least 4.5 feet away.
Yes, that'll be an improvement.
Yes.
But stay safe, stay healthy. We don't want you to have to quarantine again.
Thank you. You too. Stay safe.
All right. Well, this has been fun.
Yes. All right. Cheers.
All right. Thanks. Bye, Doug.
Bye. Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.